Another NBA 2K game has been released, so it's time to run down a list of the best teams to rebuild in NBA 2K21, which released today, September 4th. I know not a lot was done to the MyLeague mode this year, and there are things that were definitely impacted by coronavirus, such as not being able to start in the 2020 offseason and not having any rookies due to the NBA season still going on and there being no draft. But let's make the most of it and see what the best teams are to start your NBA 2K21 rebuild. Drop a like at any point in the video if you enjoy what you see, and consider subscribing for the love of franchise modes, which is all we do here. We can build a winner together. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number 11, the San Antonio Spurs. This is a bonus team here. The Spurs have had a ton of success, winning 5 NBA titles since 1999. However, they haven't really been dominant over the last 5 years. The team's stars, DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, are both expiring contracts, and Rudy Gay's contract comes off the books as well to give San Antonio a chance to bring in a new face of its franchise to pair with point guard DeJounte Murray, who is tied to the team for the next 4 seasons. So much flexibility allows you to take this franchise in the exact direction you see fit, which is very appealing. Number 10 is the Chicago Bulls. There are big decisions to make in Chicago. Lauri Markkanen's contract's coming up, and you can either pay him or let him and Otto Porter walk to provide Chicago with just enough cap to probably sign a max contract alongside Zach LaVine for at least one more season. This franchise has been riddled with bad injury luck with some of their big stars in the past, like Derrick Rose, and you can take this once dominant franchise back to prominence. Number 9 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Life after LeBron Part 2 is the narrative yet again this year. This year it's a pretty tough rebuild. The Cavs are $32 million over the cap and would need to let Andre Drummond, Tristan Thompson, Matthew Dellavedova, and Dante Exum all go to really bring in a quality free agent. If that happens, it would be difficult to bring in any quality bench players. The Cavs are tied to Kevin Love, Larry Nance Jr., and Cedi Osman for a total of, at minimum, $48 million over the next 3 seasons. So far, this is the greatest challenge rebuild on our list, if you're looking for something like that. Number 8, the Detroit Pistons. Now, Blake Griffin is getting paid very well, and he will likely accept his lucrative player option for Season 2. However, with the team barely being tied to anyone else, you can determine who plays alongside him. In my opinion, that's a very attractive thing when you're doing a MyLeague. The only reason the Pistons aren't higher on my list is due to their great success in the early 2000s compared to some of the long waits the teams coming up on this list have had thus far. Number 7 is the New York Knicks. I put them on my list near every year. Call it having my fan goggles on if you want. But with horrible ownership, no star ever wants to sign here, despite New York constantly getting the cap space ready. You can change that. The Knicks are only tied to Julius Randle beyond Season 1 and would have an abundance of cap to bring in 2 max contracts and some quality bench players to save the Knicks from their championship drought. It also helps that they actually have first-round picks coming to them, including 2 in Season number 1. Good thing for you, the AI doesn't take into account how hard of an owner you have. Number 6 is the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks haven't won an NBA title since 1958, and you could possibly change that rather quickly. With a lot of young talent that can remain cheap with team options, including the team's current star, Trae Young, a nice foundation's built here. The team has $79 million in cap space, but will need to re-sign power forward John Collins. Once that's taken care of, I would look to dump the contract of Dwayne Dedmon for an expiring deal or pick. Dumping Dedmon and letting Jeff Teague walk come season's end could open you right back up to enough cap space to sign a max contract or 2 to pair with the team's already solid young core group of players. If everything falls into place, you could have people dancing in the streets of Atlanta in almost no time. Number 5 is the Sacramento Kings. The Kings have never won a title and have tied themselves to Buddy Hield and Harrison Barnes for the next 3 years. Kent Bazemore could save you $19 million, but De'Aaron Fox needs to be signed long-term, and he can't really be let go. There would have to be some trading or excellent role player signings to get this team to that championship level in a quick amount of time. Number 4 is the New Orleans Pelicans. This was surely a popular rebuild last year thanks to New Orleans winning the Zion Williamson sweepstakes. Drew Holiday may or may not accept his player option. If he doesn't, that's great, but even if he does, the team isn't really tied to anyone else, so just accept Zion's team option, and those will be the only 2 players on the team. You might want to accept Jackson Hayes' option too, though, but with that, the rest of the team is free to bring in whomever. A max contract and a bunch of solid role players isn't out of the question here to bring the Pelicans straight to playoff contention. Number 3 is the Oklahoma City Thunder, another team that has not won a title. I actually love this rebuild. First off, you accept Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's team option to keep him on the team for $5.5 million. Then you let all the huge contracts like Steven Adams, Danilo Gallinari, and Dennis Schroeder walk to give you enough to sign a max player to go with Chris Paul, since he will likely accept his $44 million player option. You play like that for a season until Paul is gone in season number 3, and bring in a second max contract to go with the first player you sign. This builds the core of the team the way that you want it, albeit in pieces. Not to mention, they're also armed with 10 first-round picks over the next 5 years. It's time to give Oklahoma City what it deserves after the loss of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Number 2 is the Utah Jazz. Now, Utah is very interesting. The contracts you can dump will likely be used to make sure you can bring back Donovan Mitchell, and there might be some left over to get some solid role players. You lose Joe Ingles in Season 2, so if you keep those role players to just one-year deals, you'll have even more movement in Season number 2. But it's Season 3 when Bojan Bogdanovic leaves, where you really have the freedom to choose who plays alongside Donovan Mitchell. This is a very worth it and patient rebuild, but the Javs fans have waited long enough, so they can be patient for a couple more seasons. Number 1 is the Charlotte Hornets. This franchise has really had it rough. Whether the Bobcats or the Hornets, it hasn't mattered. However, as bad as they are, this could be a really fun rebuild. They already have positive cap space, and they're really only tied to Terry Rozier. However, you'd likely want to accept the team options on PJ Washington and Miles Bridges. But with so much money coming off the books and likely being a terrible team that can likely get a top pick, you can turn this around with the correct moves and some good luck. Okay, FG fam and franchise gamers, I hope this list has helped you in some way to decide what team you want to run with in NBA 2K21's MyLeague or MyGM mode if you prefer that. I prefer MyLeague to have freedom instead of having some dumb owner tell me what to do, but if you prefer MyGM, by all means, you do you. It seems that many people want to see me try a MyLeague this year on the channel. Let me know if I should in the comments section, as well as tell me what team you'd like me to run with and what team you're going to run with in NBA 2K21 this year. Make sure you drop a like on the video to help support the channel, as well as subscribe if you're new to the channel for the love of franchise modes, which is all we do here. We can build a winner together. If you want to see more franchise stuff, click right here to see more franchise. I feel you make some